So we are in fact inching closer and closer to the halfway mark in the month of January 2022. We say good morning to you, wherever you are, whether it be here in Jamaica on 99.1, 0.3, 0.5, 0.7, or 0.9 on the FM band, or if you're someplace overseas, locked in right now at www.thebridge99fm.com. We welcome you. This is Up and Go, and my name is Richie B. We're going till 11 o'clock this morning. Let me just make that very, very clear. And guess what? We've got such an interesting program. I want you to stay with me from now until then, so long as it is earthly possible. I want to wish Ronnie and Pernell all the best as they make their exit. And DJ Audley, I see you're keeping your promise, and so am I.
Yes, sir.
Yesterday we dressed, I thought I was wearing more like tangerine, and many people thought it was orange.
Yep.
And a few persons commented throughout the day. You turned out to be also wearing
well,
a shade of orange, maybe?
Well, I thought I was wearing mustard. Yeah.
And they said you were wearing orange.
Yeah.
So we said it on air yesterday that, all right, we're going to flip the script on them today and we'll go green.
Straight.
And you have gone green.
Yes, sir.
And so have I.
Of course.
That's what it's all about. If color matters, then that's how it is. 7:03, Richard B and you, all the way till 11. Up and go! We now go into WTF. Some people like when I say that, some people don't, because they prefer if I say, what the fact? That is what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you in What the Fact this morning, there's enough gold inside of the earth to coat the entire planet. Now, me never know that. I can tell you that straight up. So here's the story. It turns out that there's quite a bit of gold on, or really in, our planet. 99% of the precious metal can be found in the Earth's core. You heard? This was published in Discover magazine fairly recently, and according to these reports, how much is there? They say enough to coat the entire surface of the Earth in 1.5 feet of gold. I feel like I want to leave the studio and go start digging right now. Yeah. Can you imagine if you should run into something like a find like that? 1.5 feet of gold? How much would that be valued in today's market? Can I leave early? I want to go search for some gold. That is What the Fact. We call it WTF. Call it what you will. It happens at 7:25 every weekday morning during Up and Go on the Bridge 99 FM. It's time for us now to look at our proverb of the day. No make one donkey choke you. I have never heard this one. I don't know how many of you have. No make one donkey choke you. If that is patois, here's the English translation, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let one donkey choke you. All right? That's always the easy part. Now, do you know the explanation for this Jamaican proverb? No make one donkey choke you. The explanation is also short. Do not be misled by a fool. No disrespect to the jackasses. Sorry, I had to put that in. But no make one donkey choke you. It means do not be misled by a fool. I've ever been like tricked by a situation or someone who really should not have gotten the better of you by tricking you, and you feel really terrible after. Yeah, stuff happens. I think I was watching television yesterday and I saw where a young lady was talking about how she was, milked of $80,000 for a phone that would never arrive. And, she's putting it out there so that other persons can learn from her mistakes. Yeah. A lot of people, with all these schemes or get-rich-quick schemes, and people look back and they go, man, I was such a fool. Anyway, no make one donkey choke you. Don't be misled by a fool. So Popcorn has gone public with a post which has a lot of us startled. We understand that he was heading into the United Kingdom. That's Andre Sutherland, aka Popcorn. And apparently, for more understanding, he was detained by immigration officers, I suspect, at the airport. And based on my reading into this situation, whilst he was in quote-unquote detention, he took to his telephone and decided to put out a post. And he says, I quote, "I would like to know why someone with authority in Jamaica send information to England immigration that I'm a gang leader. And I got charged with firearm. This is not cool at all from my own country. Why I have to be sitting in immigration for over 3 hours." So he's of the view that information came out of Jamaica, was sent to England, to the United Kingdom, suggesting that he's a gang leader and that he was charged with firearm offenses. Well, the only thing that we know of, he had to pay a $10,000 fine for traffic offenses which were committed in his native parish of St. Thomas, and he pled guilty to those charges, paid his fine, and was well on his way. But now he's of the view that information came out of Jamaica and went into England, suggesting that he's a gang leader and was charged with firearm offenses. He says that is not cool at all, coming from my own country. Would people be so wicked, though? I don't know. Popcorn, you sure you're not, just thinking too hard on this? 'Cause I don't know. Do you have enemies who would want to do that to you? But then again, it's such a wicked world, you can't even predict what people would do. That would be so unfortunate. So we would have heard the Prime Minister in what some believe was a fairly angry response to a journalist during a press conference on Sunday in relation to questions to do with the Maroon, their lands, sovereignty, and stuff like that. Whether or not Jamaica is a unitary state is a topic that's being discussed a lot in this country at this time. The treaty that was signed between the Maroons and Britain in the 18th century has also come into focus. We're very pleased to be joined this morning by well-known attorney at law, former president of the Organization of Commonwealth Caribbean Bar Associations, and well-known and respected constitutional scholar, Dr. Lloyd Barnett, who is our guest on the telephone at this time. Good morning, Dr. Barnett.
Good morning, Richie B, and good morning to all listeners.
I have to ask, how have you been? Happy New Year and all of that.
You all the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Barnett. The Maroons, Doc, they claim that their land is sovereign territory. Do you refute those claims, and if so, on what basis?
Most certainly, they are part of Jamaica, have always been part of Jamaica. They never gained independence as a separate state. Jamaica gained independence. The entire Jamaican island is one country, has always been one country. And the Independence Act by which we were made independent as a state refers to one Jamaica.
Do you know on what basis, then, the Maroons might be laying claims to a different view from yours?
No, I can't understand it at all. Because in no part of the history did they claim to be a separate state. What they claimed was freedom from slavery.
Mm-hmm. What can you tell us, Dr. Barnett, about a treaty or an agreement that was struck between the Maroons and Britain in the 18th century?
Well, it's not between the Maroons and Britain, actually, because it was between the Maroons and the local military leaders, which was approved by the local administration, the governor, and subsequently recognized by the House of Assembly. And the British approved of it, but it was not a treaty between two states. It was a treaty for a settlement of the local hostilities because they were in the nature of insurrectionists. And the word treaty is frequently used where it was settled between the state agencies and insurrectionists.
Mm-hmm. Did the treaty speak to sovereignty of the Maroons?
No, not at all. In fact, the treaty has lots of provisions which make it clear that they're not a sovereign state. Lots of controlling factors relating to what they could do on the land and what they could or could not do outside of the land. You know, so that there's nothing in the treaty at all which points to a separate state. It points to some element of local government.
To the best of your knowledge, has this treaty been amended through the years? And
several amendments were made, and all the amendments were approved by the House of Assembly, thus showing that it was subject to Jamaican law. And it is very difficult to understand the basis of the sovereignty claim.
Dr. Barnett, do you believe that such a treaty, well, I want to really ask, how do you believe that such a treaty will be viewed by the international community? And by extension, could non-adherence to its terms affect Jamaica's relationship with other nations or organizations?
I don't think so, because it doesn't qualify as an international agreement. And it would not be so recognized by applying the normal principles of international law.
All right. Prime Minister Holness recently stated categorically that Jamaica is a unitary state, whilst Chief of the Maroons, Richard Curry, disagrees. First of all, Dr. Barnett, please explain for the benefit of our listeners what is meant by a unitary state.
A unitary state, I think it is a wrong use of the term in the context of this discussion. A unitary state means a state in which there is just one government, one central government, which, as Jamaica is, or say, take another country, as say Barbados is or Trinidad and Tobago is. But a unitary state is sometimes compared with a federal state in which there are established units within the state and therefore have separate governments which are recognized as having independent existence.
So would you say that the Prime Minister is on the right side of the law when he speaks to Jamaica being a unitary state?
Yes, but I don't think in the context of this discussion that was the question. That was the question was whether or not the Maroon settlements, the area in which the Maroons live, constitutes a separate state.
This is obviously something that is causing a lot of talk and so on. And as I speak to you here, I don't even see how it's going to end. But the Maroons seem very, very firm in their claims.
But when you say the Maroons too, you see there are 5 different Maroon settlements. And as I understand it, this claim to sovereignty is being put forward by only one of the different Maroon settlements. So that if what they are saying is right, you wouldn't have just 2 Jamaican states, you would have 6 or 7. You know, if every one of them, which came into existence by the same circumstances in which they ran away from the plantations and established their own settlements in the hinterland. If all of them can claim sovereignty on that basis, then I'm not sure how many states we would have in Jamaica.
So, like the Moortown Maroons are not making these claims, but I think they're
I've not seen any other laying those claims.
How is it that the indigenous Indians, for instance, in the U.S. have sovereignty within the U.S. and are respected?
They don't have sovereignty. Their local customs and traditions are respected, and that is only lately they have been given the respect which they are due. But they never claimed to be an independent state either.
Wow. There are many who are listening right now and are feeling that the real issue is access to the very protected areas, like in the cockpit country and so on.
Yeah, I think that is what they should be pursuing, the question to which their legal right to the land is being compromised, the extent to which there are environmental questions relating to the area they live in. I think that is a strong argument for them to marshal and to try to say that they are an independent and separate state. What is the name of that state? Akompong? Is it recognized by the United Nations? Have they ever had diplomats in any other countries?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they do not have any of the signs of statehood at all.
Okay. Do you then believe that the Maroons have the right, the Akompong Maroons, to protect their land from external forces?
I think they have a strong argument. Well, what do you mean by external forces? External forces, as Jamaican citizens, they have a duty to protect Jamaica from external forces. But that doesn't mean the government of Jamaica. The government of Jamaica is the authority for the Jamaican state.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Barnett, have you given thought to how this matter might come to an amicable resolution?
Well, clearly it needs discussion. Any conflict is best resolved, first of all, by discussions and some attempt to clarify and settle the issues. It depends, of course, on the willingness of persons to discuss the thing in a friendly and, and rational way.
Mm-hmm.
But one hopes that will be the case.
All right. We want to thank you, Doc, for your time and your thoughts as usual, and we wish you a wonderful day today. Thank you so much. All the best. Bye-bye. All right. That's all time would allow for our discussion there with Dr. Lloyd Barnett. And you hear him. You heard him. Very, very important discussion. Thank you once again, Dr. the Honorable Lloyd Barnett, OJ, attorney at law, and of course, well-known gentleman when it comes to our Constitution and the like. We will definitely continue to look at this subject. We hope to be able to speak with a member of the Maroon community at some point and get their version on this issue out in the public. And as we have been promising all morning, it's time now for us to get into another interview segment. And our guests are standing by. Just to tell you, Sagicor Group Jamaica has launched its own online streaming content platform, Sage Network. The financial conglomerate launched the platform on January 5, 2022, and it will showcase 100% local content, including short films and other productions from the Jamaica Film and Television Association, JAFTA, as well as Sagicor's own produced content. And we understand the platform will also, through its partnership with Dana Wallace International and JAFTA, showcase the diverse talents that exist in the creative space here in Jamaica. Now, I like this development, and we're joined at this time by Alysia White, the Vice President of Group Marketing at Sagicor. Good morning, Alysia.
Hey, Richie, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining us. How have you been?
Thank you for having me. I've been good.
Wonderful.
I've been good. I'm healthy, and that's the best thing that we can ask for right now, right?
Absolutely, Alysia. Great having you. We also want to welcome to this segment Saeed Thomas, who is the president of the Jamaica Film and Television Association. Saeed, good morning.
Good morning, Richie.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Very excited about this.
I would imagine that you would be. And, Alysia, many people are excited with this development. First of all, what is Sage and how does it really work?
Sage Network, or sagebysagicor.com, is a website, a streaming website, where at first it was supposed to be the content hub for Sagicor. We've been telling stories through our marketing for about 5-6 years now. We kind of switched to that format where we told real stories of our clients, potential clients, or community, or heroes, and so on. And so we decided to have all of our content in one space. And this is long-form features. We've done documentaries. We've done small features on clients and so on. Mm-hmm. So we put it all in one space, called it sagebysagicor.com, one space where you can go and see everything. And then our partners, or one of our consultants, Dana Wallace from Dana Wallace International, and our team at Sagicor had this brilliant idea to include other Jamaican content, not necessarily about Sagicor at all. In fact, very often it has nothing to do with us. We just wanted to showcase, in addition, we have the platform already.
Yes.
We wanted to showcase other films, other talent from Jamaica right now, from Jamaica. So we partnered with the Jamaica Film and Television Association. So what you see on the platform as well is films, documentaries, episodics, comedies that have been created by Jamaicans. They may have been streamed at some film festival or premiered at some film festival, and then you never saw them again. And I was struck by how excellent the pieces were. We literally sat and ate popcorn and watched all of them while we chose which ones would be included in our platform.
This is an excellent development for Jamaican creatives. I'm sure, as you heard the excitement in Saeed's voice a while ago.
Yes.
Saeed, what are some of the challenges, though, that plagues the Jamaican film industry, which maybe necessitated, really, this partnership between Sagicor and JAFTA?
Yeah, funding has always been hard to come by. And even, since COVID, it's even been harder. And the question has always been, when we do make our films independently, where do the films go and where do the films live? And now I can say that creatives finally have a home. We finally have a place for films to live.
Alysia, how will the creatives actually benefit from this initiative?
Okay, so when Saeed said, we were doing a Twitter space. Was it last week? I think it was. He said something very profound. He said it again a while ago, that we have a home. And I never thought about it like that. We are not owning the content of filmmakers and producers that we have partnered with JAFTA on. We're licensing it for a particular period. Two ways that they benefit: the licensing fees that are paid by Sagicor is something. It's some extra funding that wasn't there before, and certainly that helps right now, especially in the creative industry during this pandemic. We're well aware of that, but also somewhere that you can be seen outside of a period of time where you're premiering your film and then it goes away. That is good for the orange economy in such a huge way, because people are seeing what you can do. You can get other jobs based on that. Your talent is shown. It's so important. If nobody sees what you can do, you won't get any traction or any exposure from it. So that kind of exposure that we are affording creatives is something that we're really very proud of at Sagicor. And also, this is a partnership. So, I mean, right now, we've just launched it. We launched last week, but the possibilities are endless. We are a financial conglomerate that can teach, that can train, that can do workshops, that can offer all kinds of financial solutions to creatives. And I think this has opened the door tremendously in that respect.
Saeed, is the response that you gave reflected right across the creative space?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think so. What this does, it shows everyone that Jamaicans do have the ability to produce quality content. And as Alysia would have said, the more we can showcase that, is the more we can get more opportunities for funding. And of course, is the more we can tell our own stories. There's so many stories here. There's so many stories in the Caribbean, in Jamaica. And I've always thought that as a people, we needed to appreciate this more. And this is what this move does. It shows that there's an appreciation for our stories. And I mean, with our rich history, with our rich heritage, I think it can only grow as not only as an industry, but as a society.
Alysia, what would you say is the difference between what the Sage Network will offer and what is available on platforms like, say, YouTube?
Okay, so it's I don't want to compare. YouTube is a space that has, 50,000 quadrillion videos?
Or maybe a few more.
Yeah. Or maybe a few more.
Yes.
Anybody can put anything on there. I think what we have done is we've streamlined what it is that we're showcasing. Our tagline is Streaming Jamaica. So you're not seeing anything else but Jamaican content and high-quality Jamaican films So I know I've received no ends of WhatsApp messages, DMs about how persons can get their content on the Sage Network, and quality is going to be the number one feature.
Yeah.
It has to be of an excellent standard. If you look at the platform, even the series that we have produced in house at Sagicor, or Women in Business series in the 5th season, or Blue Chair series about SMEs in its 4th season, about the 3rd or 4th season, or Spending Time Shaping Lives mini documentary series on what communities are doing to uplift Jamaica. All of them are of excellent quality. We hire the best producers, filmmakers to produce those. Mm-hmm. And everything that we've received from JAFTA, the cinematography is just out of this world. You're looking at a first-class production every time you watch the Sage Network. So it's not that there's nothing wrong with YouTube, nothing wrong with any other streaming platform, but we are just streaming Jamaica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're doing it with excellence.
Fantastic. And this is going to be accessible 24/7, I suspect, and from anywhere in the world.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad. I mean, I was so happy to hear you greeting persons from the GTA.
Yes.
I think, what do they call it now? The 6? Where my parents and many of my family are, because if you just go on to sagebysagicor.com, you get a little slice of paradise, even in what you are watching. You're watching Jamaicans and you're watching Jamaican films, and I think everyone would love that. Mm-hmm. So anywhere in the world, wherever you are, I think you greeted the UK, you greeted Canada, you greeted New York, anywhere you are in the world.
All right, so this no doubt is providing a great deal of motivation, I suspect, also, Saeed. No doubt members of JAFTA will want to be lifting their standards to the highest possible dimension, just to make sure that you capitalize on this exposure. That's the attitude, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. And JAFTA is very big on development. So, I mean, over the past few years, we would have been doing workshops on storytelling, writing. I know this year we're going more into the technical aspects of it. So, I mean, as we get more opportunities to showcase our work, and as we progress and as we invest more in our development, then, of course, the quality will be more guaranteed for sure.
Okay, wonderful. Before we go, Alysia, could you give us a little update on the Sagicor Sigma corporate run? We understand is that a postponement?
Yes, there is. We are as of yesterday, we're at 60% COVID positivity rate as a nation, and we are going to do the responsible thing and just wait a little bit until we know that COVID is going nowhere. We're aware of that. We're aware that we're an outdoor event, and we would make like we did last year, we'd make every possible effort to keep people physically distant.
Yes.
However, 60% is a lot.
Yeah.
It is a fully vaccinated run. We are going to be running. There is a run, but we have decided to put it off for about a month. The new dates, which should be breaking news, Richie,
yes,
should be March 13 and 20 for our corporate bubble run and our invitational run. The virtual run would also take place in March. We're hoping that would be the case, but we don't think that it is prudent to keep the run in February at this time. We just don't know what the next 4 weeks will have for us.
Okay, so a little over a month from now. Thank you for choosing this medium to break that story. Thank you, Alysia.
Sure, no problem.
I'm really, really proud of this development, and I share the joy of people like Saeed and others like him. And I wish you all the very, very best. Thank you for talking to us today, and have a great day.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alysia. Thank you, Saeed.
Thank you. Thank you
All
for
the
having
best.
me.
Yeah, man, our pleasure. Right about now, we're going to be joined by a gentleman, the policy chairman of the Jamaica Labour Party's Generation 2000 G2K, the Young Professional Affiliates Group, and he's advocating for the inclusion of financial literacy in the secondary school curriculum. Sterling, Mr. Romario Sterling, is going to be my guest, and we understand that he has a passion for money management because it influenced his foray into the world of investment banking. And he said as recently as last Wednesday that financial literacy should be a mandatory course of study for young people. Romario credits financial literacy as a tool to alleviate poverty and reduce social inequality. And he also shared that G2K is gearing up to have the course introduced in dozens of schools as a subject by March of this year. Now, you know that would be of interest to me, so we have Romario Sterling with us. Good morning and welcome, Romario. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Why then would you say it is important, Romario, for young children and students in general to learn about money management and even investment from an early age?
I mean, as I would have mentioned, it's an important skill set or tool to have to, alleviate poverty and reduce social inequality. And one of the reasons why I wanted to be introduced to all students at the secondary level from first to third form is because after that period, most people usually specialize in certain areas, whether it be medicine, law, or business. So you have a situation where a lot of people leave high school, and because they specialize in, for instance, medicine or the sciences, they never really got exposed to core concepts such as investments. And this is really coming from personal experience, being at UWI and having a lot of friends in law and medicine. And they're very intrigued by investments and they want to participate, but they don't understand. So they always say that they wish they were taught some of these in school. I even have friends who become lawyers, and when they learn about investment banking, they say, if I knew about this career earlier, maybe this is what I would have done because of how interesting it is. And when I talk about financial literacy, it's not just investments, like investing in the stock market, but just basic money management. What is money, how you save. Things that I think should also be included in the curriculum is how you open a bank account, what are the requirements, a better understanding of the banking system, and that, that bodes well for financial inclusion. Because traditionally, a very small percentage of Jamaicans actually participate in the stock market, but that has grown in recent times, but it's still small. And we also have an issue as it relates to inclusion in just the formal banking sector. So having a foundation subject that is introduced to all students at the foundational level of high school, which I think is first to third form,
yes,
should help to address some of these issues. And I also want to make another point regarding the introduction. So we don't intend or expect the subject to be introduced in schools by March. We actually want to start the process because to introduce a subject in high schools, it will have to go through a rigorous process that will be vetted by the Ministry of Education and a curriculum developer. So by March is a very short timeline, but we want to start the process by March.
I'm glad you made that distinction because I was a little surprised as it came to me a while ago. But why do you think it has not been done? Because what you're saying makes a lot of sense. What might have prevented this from happening in the school curriculum previously?
I mean, I can't really speak to what would have prevented it. I'm not 100% certain, but I mean, it's not unique to Jamaica because even in the United States and Canada, this is a fairly new initiative that has been introduced in some schools, through some means. So, I mean, traditionally, it's just one of those topics that has been overlooked by most people, and especially just the average person, really and truly, is based on the books that I've read, business people and people who control wealth in society, they are the ones who are more adamant about financial literacy. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I want that to be introduced in schools, because not everybody is blessed with the opportunity of being born in a family that puts emphasis on that. So I think it's just a traditional, I don't think it, to think, when I think of a reason, I think it's just tradition. I mean, it's just something that people generally don't really talk about, money. Even though it's important, a lot of people tend to kind of avoid that topic. But I think as the population becomes more educated and investments become more popular, people are realizing the importance of it.
Yeah, I enjoy. I really I'm happy that you're making this call and making this thrust going forward right now. What would a course of this nature, financial course, as you are proposing, really look like? Give us a little bit more detail on what you have in mind.
So That's a very good question. So I don't want it to be introduced or taught like the traditional subject. So in the article, I would have mentioned that it would be delivered digitally online, where students will log into a platform and access the content. And that content would be delivered through videos, and those videos would be done with animation, etc. And even the assessments, I'd want the assessment to reflect, to be like a game that tests critical thinking skills and also tests whether or not the students have actually grasped the content that has been delivered. So I can give you an example. Mm-hmm. When I was at NCB, I was a research analyst at NCB Capital Markets for 3 years.
Yes.
When I was there, we used to do internal assessments for, core areas that we all need to be knowledgeable about in the banking sector. And I remember one of the assessments being like, you get some questions and you have to answer the questions correctly to keep the rocket ship alive, or the rocket ship will crash. So that kind of like assessment through that kind of medium is what I'm expecting to introduce through this subject, so that when it's introduced to students, it's interesting, it's interactive, and it tests their critical thinking skills. And also, it doesn't require the burden of having to train teachers to teach the subject. They will just play a supervisor role.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. As parents, many of them out there listening to us right now, they might not have been trained in financial literacy. But what are some financial lessons do you think that parents can actually impart to their children from a very early age?
From a very early age, I think just introducing them to the concept of money, what it is, the importance of saving, creating a budget, like making a plan in terms of how much you want to save for a particular period, and also just documenting your spend. I think that's a start for children, because, investing can be a complicated subject, and I know a lot of parents might not even be versed on that themselves, but I would say that's the next thing that you can introduce them to. There are books out there actually for kids, financial literacy for kids that they can also buy to give their children from an early age, and kind of develop that foundation, and it approaches it from a level that they would understand. And they themselves can also invest in financial literacy books so that they can pass on that same knowledge to their children. I was introduced to the concept of financial literacy through Rich Dad Poor Dad, which was a book that was given to me by my stepfather. Mm-hmm. So, that's one example of how they can really, help their children to be financially literate, looking at the literature that's available out there and providing that to them.
Okay, excellent suggestion. Your goal then is not to have it introduced by March, but to start the process. Is it that you'd like for this to come on stream by, say, the September term or sometime thereafter, based on the projections?
So I can't give a timeline independently, because that would be subjected to the ministry. So right now, me and my organization are trying to get a meeting with the Ministry of Education to discuss it and to see how we can move forward.
Okay.
But that will be so we haven't reached that level yet. But the article has gotten some good traction. A few ministers have retweeted it, and they like the initiative. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll be able to get a formal meeting with the ministry soon, and see how we could potentially incorporate it, or what their perspective is on it.
Mm-hmm. What is the mood like within the G2K at this time?
The mood within G2K is I would say we're very motivated. We are trying to become, our mindset right now is to be like a think tank for the youth and for the government. So when we put out any release, it would really be more solutions oriented rather than political combat. Even my committee, for instance, we have a lot of bright minds, people from various sectors: manufacturing, the legal field, education, entrepreneurship, etc. And The reason for that is that we want diverse representation and we want innovative and groundbreaking solutions coming from G2K because we see ourselves as the voice of the young people, and I think it's our responsibility to ensure that we make that connection between young people and the government, as well as we look for ideas and solutions from a futuristic standpoint, to help the government, because, we are the future generation. So things like cryptocurrencies and NFTs and, groundbreaking developments, those are the things that we will really be focusing on to see how we can incorporate that in any policy suggestion that we put forward to the government.
Coming to think of it, I can't recall whether or not I'd seen a release after the Prime Minister did the reshuffle from G2K. Was there one published?
No, we haven't done a release just yet.
Okay.
The PR committee, I think, would be in a better position to really opine on that.
Yes.
But as I say, my committee's mantra is really to ensure that, we just remain on the cusp of international development and try as best as possible to see how we can put forward innovative solutions to issues affecting young people.
Yeah, excellent. You handle yourself well. I enjoyed talking with you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you, Romario.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, our pleasure. Can't draw out Romario. We can't draw him out. Okay, that was Romario Sterling, policy chairman of the Jamaica Labour Party's Generation 2000 G2K, the Young Professional Affiliates Group. And they're advocating for the inclusion of financial literacy in secondary schools. All right, we want to go over to the UK, where there is a breaking story. Sometime after 7 o'clock this morning, you would recall I was telling you that the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is in a spot of bother, as there are many who are calling for his resignation as a result of an appearance he might have made at a garden party back in 2020 when England was under lockdown, and he ought not to have been seen at such an event. And I did say to you at that time that he's scheduled to be speaking sometime today, and as it has come to us, he did speak indeed. And he has apologized after admitting that he attended the Downing Street garden party, and that came in just a few moments ago. And here is what the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said in his apology a short while ago.
I want to apologize. I know that millions of people across this country have made extraordinary sacrifices over the last 18 months. I know the anguish that they have been through, unable to mourn their relatives, unable to live their lives as they want or to do the things they love. And I know the rage they feel with me and with the government I lead when they think that in Downing Street itself the rules are not being properly followed by the people who make the rules. And though I cannot anticipate the conclusions of the current inquiry, I have learned enough to know that there were things we simply did not get right. And I must take responsibility. Number 10 is a big department with the garden as an extension of the office, which has been in constant use because of the role of fresh air in stopping the virus. And when I went into that garden just after 6 on the 20th of May, 2020, to thank groups of staff before going back into my office 25 minutes later to continue working, I believed implicitly that this was a work event. But, Mr. Speaker, with hindsight, I should have sent everyone back inside. I should have found some other way to thank them. And I should have recognised that even if it could be said technically to fall within the guidance, there would be millions and millions of people who simply would not see it that way, people who suffered terribly, people who were forbidden from meeting loved ones at all, inside or outside. And to them and to this House, I offer my heartfelt apologies. And all I...
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We saw that coming, and it arrived. Boris Johnson apologizing after admitting that he attended a Downing Street garden drinks party during England's first national lockdown. Question is that apology enough? Will that silence those critics of his and those from the opposition benches? Only time will tell. He came under intense pressure, not just from outside of his party, but even from within his party, to state categorically whether or not he had, in fact, attended that party. And he did, and you just heard that apology. We continue to monitor those developments as we continue to inform, educate, and entertain.
Richie B, the party master, on Up and Go, The Bridge, 99 FM.